Shimmer of Shuriken. By Colleen. Chapter 1: Awakening. They had been shrouded in an eerie silence since last night. The only interruptions to the silence were the occasional whispers of the desert wind. Leo and Pat, exhausted from their 4-day journey away from the village, lay beneath the infinite stars that stretched across the early morning sky. In the desert's tranquility, a low, rumbling vibration like the murmur of a sleeping beast sent tremors through the ground beneath them. The earth seemed to shake as if in resistance, conjuring waves of sand, and Leo and Pat sprang to their feet. Leo's eyes flickered open as his heart began to race. He got up, his eyes filled with apprehension, scanning the surroundings. Pat also rose, fixing his gaze on the distant silhouette of the volcano. "What's happening?" Pat asked, his voice laced with unease. Leo watched the seemingly awakened volcano with a sense of foreboding. "It doesn't look good," he muttered. As dawn's light began to paint the desert, the scene before them appeared even more ominous. The once tranquil volcano was now brimming with anger, spewing forth a thick cloud of grey smoke that covered the sky. "Look at that massive cloud," Pat pointed to the billowing volcanic ash which rose ominously. Sensing the urgency of finding a safe place before the situation escalated further, Leo began to hurriedly pack their belongings. "Quick, Pat, we don't have much time. We need to find a safe spot before the quake strikes, or worse, the volcanic eruption reaches us." Baggage in tow and an impending sense of danger, the two boys were aware of the unstable ground beneath them. They were also beginning to realize that their journey across the desert had brought them more than they had bargained for. "Last night, if we hadn't been sleeping here, we might have been engulfed by lava down there," Pat remarked as he packed faster than usual. "Let's go," Leo urged. "We're running out of time. We must hurry before it's too late." Within minutes, everything was packed, and they left behind the memories of the village they once called home. Leo and Pat, driven by their resolve to escape the clutches of Darklord and his loyal minions, had embarked on a simple desert expedition. Little did they know their journey had only just begun. Drawn deeper into the enchantment of the desert, they faced the sweltering heat of the day, looming uncertainties, and the perilous sight of a menacing volcano on the horizon. Still, their unwavering determination to protect Mirage Haven and its people urged them forward. Chapter 2: Whispers of the Desert. The merciless desert sun beat down on Leo and Pat relentlessly. The endless sand dunes stretched ahead, leaving imprints of their footsteps on the scorching ground as they walked away from their home village, Mirage Haven. Once a flourishing oasis nestled among the silent wastelands, Mirage Haven had now become a ghost town. The elegantly paved streets, which had seen centuries of use, were now obscured by swirling sands. Laughter had long been replaced by the raspy whispers of the desert winds. The transformation of this village marked the beginning of an unimaginable catastrophe, initiated by the awakening of an ancient villain known as Darklord and his enigmatic subordinate, Jackal. Jackal, a figure who carried fear and darkness wherever he went, had decimated Mirage Haven with ruthless power. His mere presence had brought chaos and despair, leaving the villagers with no choice but to flee. Amidst the chaos, Leo and Pat had made a painful decision. Leaving behind the only home they had ever known, they embarked on a perilous journey into the unforgiving desert. The unrelenting desert sun continued to scorch them as the ever-changing sands beneath their feet left traces of their passage. In this harsh environment, desert wanderers and occasionally menacing outlaws served as their only companions, with even the scarce drinking water becoming a precious commodity. Despite the challenges, Leo and Pat held steadfast to the legacy of Mirage Haven, a place of deep friendships and boundless love. Their mission was clear. They had to confront the darkness shrouding their home, protect the villagers from Darklord and Jackal's tyranny, and ensure a brighter future for Mirage Haven. In the silence of the desert, Pat broke the tension. "Leo, was it the right decision to leave Mirage Haven behind like this?" Leo, his gaze unwavering, answered in a subdued voice, "We had no choice, Pat. We can't let Darklord and Jackal rule over our home. Mirage Haven deserves a brighter future, and we must find a way to make that happen." Pat nodded, rekindling the determination he had momentarily forgotten. "You're right, Leo. There's no turning back. Whatever challenges lie ahead, we'll face them head-on and emerge victorious." The desert stretched before them, filled with promises of danger and discovery. Leo and Pat weren't alone on this journey. They carried with them the hopes and dreams of the people of Mirage Haven. Their quest would test their courage, unveil hidden mysteries, and unleash a power beyond their imagination. Unbeknownst to them, their adventure was destined to become a resurrected legend, a rekindled prophecy, and a story that would rise like a phoenix, bringing new life to Mirage Haven. Chapter 3: Harbingers of Darkness. It has been 10 days since Leo and Pat left the village. The scorching heat and emptiness of the desert have left them restless and weary, with even their sense of direction wavering due to uncertainty. As they looked back, when they were about to leave the village, the ground beneath them frequently trembled, and traces of lava, along with Jackal's subordinates, are often spotted in the village. At first they seemed to roam aimlessly without a clear purpose, but as their numbers grew, their intentions began to surface. They were preparing for the arrival of a formidable force under Jackal's command. Faced with the impending threat to Mirage Haven, the villagers gathered in the community hall to hold a crucial meeting. As they struggled to formulate an action plan in their weary state, tensions ran high, and reaching a unanimous decision proved to be a challenge. Some advocated for an immediate evacuation, while others hoped to stay. The only common ground was that no one dared to entertain the idea of confronting these merciless monsters in battle. They were peaceful people, and the notion of challenging these ruthless creatures was an unimaginable task. As the number of monsters exceeded 100, escaping from Mirage Haven became increasingly perilous. The monsters effectively blocked the eastern route leading to a neighboring village. The only escape route was to the west, into the treacherous desert. Finally, the terrifying leader of the monsters, Jackal, arrived. Chaos engulfed the village, and people rushed back to their homes, worried about events unfolding outside, glimpsing them through windows. Leo and his childhood friend, Pat, sought refuge together in Leo's parents' house. Their friendship, forged from their early years, was now their greatest solace. Seeking a brief moment of respite, Leo and Pat joined Leo's parents in the living room. Leo's father, Matt, began to speak in a voice tinged with concern. "Leo, listen closely," Matt started, his voice heavy with worry. "Yes, Dad," Leo responded, locking eyes with his father. Matt motioned for Pat to join them. "And you too, Pat." Sarah, Leo's mother, entered with an herb tea tray, hands trembling slightly. She extinguished a nearby candle and poured herbal tea into cups for everyone. In the dimly lit room, a palpable tension hung in the air. The future of Mirage Haven was uncertain, overshadowed by the menacing presence of Jackal and his horde of monsters. In this moment of uncertainty, Leo, Pat, and Leo's parents were about to make difficult decisions that would shape their destinies in the days to come. Chapter 4: Unveiling Legends and the Beginning of an Adventure. Matt's voice carried an almost mystical quality as he delved deeper into the history, reimagining the epic clash between the humans of this world, Erethdor, and the sinister Dark Lord. The world teetered on the brink of destiny as darkness threatened to engulf it once more. In this ancient era, Sir Orion emerged as a beacon of hope. He wielded mysterious weapons that effortlessly subdued the relentless hordes of the Dark Lord. The first was an ornate sword whose blade shone with an otherworldly light, moving as if an extension of his will, cleaving through the ranks of the Dark Lord's minions. The second was a magnificent bow, its design striking and its arrows unfailingly accurate in targeting their marks. When Sir Orion drew his bowstring, his arrows unfailingly found their targets even amid the chaos of battle. This bow was a symbol of unrivaled skill. The third and final weapon was a mystical shuriken, embodying precision and speed. When thrown by Orion, it brought defeat to the Dark Lord's hordes. The shuriken whirled through the air, striking fear into the hearts of all who witnessed its mesmerizing dance. Legend had it that these three weapons held the power to vanquish the Dark Lord permanently. But there was one catch. To seal the Dark Lord for all time, these sacred weapons needed to be combined into one form. Even this task proved challenging, even for Sir Orion himself. Thus, while the Dark Lord was imprisoned and sealed, he was not entirely defeated, and the three sacred weapons remained separated, hidden in different realms, safeguarding the world from the malevolent ruler's return. As Matt's narrative concluded, Leo and Pat felt a renewed sense of purpose. The sword and bow had returned to the Dark Lord, allowing him to regain a portion of his former strength. However, the shuriken remained hidden, and its location remained a mystery. Leo and Pat were determined to embark on a quest to find the mystical shuriken. It was a journey fraught with danger, but the fate of Erethdor hung in the balance. Sarah patted Leo and Pat on the shoulders, smiling reassuringly. "Everything will turn out fine, just keep moving forward, you have the support of everyone." And then Matt gave them one last piece of advice. "Go on, be courageous, you are the hope of this world, find the Shuriken and prevent the Dark Lord's return, the destiny of this world lies in your hands." With Matt's final words, Leo and Pat made their decision. They chose the path that would lead them away from the village and into the heart of the desert. The world awaited their bravery and determination. Evan, their guide, led them deeper into the desert, guiding them into the unknown. The night air was charged with quiet tension as they embarked on their adventure, and the stars above were their sole comfort in the vast, shadowy landscape. As they journeyed further into the desert, Leo couldn't help but ask, "Do you know anything about Master Kai?" Evan's eyes glinted with wisdom under the moonlight. "Master Kai is a living legend, and we'll need his knowledge and help. He's devoted his life to maintaining the balance between light and darkness in Erethdor." Pat couldn't help but express his concerns. "But how do we find Master Kai? We have no idea where to start." Evan's reply held an air of mystery. "The path to Master Kai is known to almost no one, but I'll guide you to an outer village. There we must seek out the wise elder, Oriana. We'll inform her of our quest, seek her help and gather the information we need." Leo nodded with understanding. "Oriana, and from there, we can find Master Kai." As Leo and Pat steeled their resolve and made their commitment, they felt the weight of Erethdor's destiny resting heavily on their young shoulders. 6 days had passed since the volcanic eruption when Leo and Pat, now 10 days into their journey, began to feel the exhaustion of the arid desert. As they trudged through the unforgiving sands, their surroundings seemed surreal. Volcanic eruptions had reshaped the landscape, leaving behind a desolate and haunting terrain. It was then that they encountered a mysterious stranger who had suddenly appeared before them. This enigmatic figure, their guide through the treacherous desert, introduced himself as Carl. Chapter 5: Enchanted Encounter. In the outskirts of a strange new village under the moonlit desert sky, the air hung still, the vast plains appeared peaceful, but hidden dangers lurked in the shadows, ready to surface at any moment. From the perspective of a young girl named Alara, the night seemed to carry ominous signs. She had ventured to the outskirts of the village in search of rare desert flowers, her heart filled with anticipation and excitement. However, she was unaware of the impending disruption to her peaceful journey. As Alara bent down to pluck the vibrant desert blooms, the sound of approaching footsteps caught her attention. Looking around, she could discern a menacing group advancing from the darkness. Their intentions were far from friendly, and fear began to grip her heart. The strangers, shrouded in dark hoods, advanced without hesitation, their intentions unclear. Alara desperately scanned for an escape route, but it was already too late. They surrounded her, and their laughter sounded wicked and taunting. One of them, a man with a scar running vertically across his face and a hood obscuring his features, sneered at Alara. "What's a fragile little girl like you doing all alone in a place like this?" Trembling but resolute, Alara stammered, "I'm collecting desert flowers, please just let me go back." In an instant his cruel smile deepened, and his intentions were unmistakable. Alara was trapped, and her resistance seemed futile. Just when all hope seemed lost, a voice shattered the oppressive silence. "That's enough." Startled, the hooded figures turned to see Leo, Pat and Carl suddenly appearing before them. This unexpected encounter in the quiet desert was a surprise, and the hooded group looked at the newcomers with uneasy expressions. Leo, his gaze fixed on the scarred leader, stated firmly, "Release her now." Leo and his companions advanced, shouting in unison. Alara's heart swelled with relief as well. She gathered her courage and with a determined voice, addressed the hooded group. "You heard them, let me go." The tension in the air was palpable, and the hooded figures began to hesitate. Alara's fate seemed dire, but at that moment the desert wind felt like it was holding its breath. In that moment the man with the scarred face reluctantly stepped aside, allowing Alara to break free from their menacing circle. She ran toward Leo, and her eyes reflected a mix of relief and gratitude. Pat stood guard, his posture firm, and he sternly warned the hooded figures, "I won't ask again. Leave this place and never appear before us again." Despite Leo and Pat's assertive demands, the hooded group showed no sign of retreating. Carl, without saying a word, gazed sharply at them from behind Leo and Pat. He subtly placed his hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist, ready to spring into action at any moment. Recognizing Carl's skill and sensing the impending threat, the hooded group finally felt the need to retreat and promptly turned to disappear into the darkness. Alara's heart still raced, but she glanced back and forth between Leo and his companions with a curious, relieved expression. "Thank you," she said, her voice still trembling. "I don't know who you are, but you saved me in a terrible situation. I'm so grateful." Carl smiled warmly and replied, "It was lucky that we happened to be passing through this place. Those were some dangerous folks. Are you all right?" Alara nodded, feeling a renewed sense of security. As they continued their journey towards the village before darkness fell, Alara listened intently to the details of their travels. Her eyes now shimmered with a new determination. "Is it true? Are you looking for someone named Oriana? Perhaps this twist of fate. If you follow me, you can meet Oriana. She's my grandmother." Leo and his companions couldn't help but react with great excitement at the prospect of finally meeting Oriana. With Alara guiding the way, this unexpected alliance forged a bond that went beyond the weariness of their travels. Ahead lay the next adventure in their journey to find the sacred Shuriken, and everyone began to realize that their quest had truly begun. Chapter 6: Guiding Light. Throughout Alara's guidance to her village, the desert air seemed infused with an aura of anticipation and curiosity. Her presence was leading Sir Orion, Erethdor and Darklord toward a new destination, but they still had no knowledge of how their future would unfold. Walking in silence, Pat finally spoke. "Alara, do you know that your grandmother Oriana is referred to as a wise elder? I wonder how she might assist us on our quest to find the legend." Alara nodded, her gaze fixed ahead. "Yes, she knows the legends well, and she has always been a wellspring of wisdom for our village." Leo's voice carried curiosity as he inquired, "And do you believe she will help us in finding the Shuriken?" Alara's eyes sparkled with determination and curiosity. "I believe she will. She is knowledgeable about the secrets of this land, and though I don't know all the details, she also has deep connections to the legends that shaped our world." As they continued their journey, the outline of Alara's village began to emerge from the darkness. Beyond the vast desert plains, a sacred temple, a simple yet majestic structure, stood at the heart of the village, its spire seemingly reaching for the heavens. Leo, Pat and Carl exchanged welcoming yet surprised glances. It felt as if destiny itself had guided them to this moment, and that the person who would assist their quest was right before them. Alara too wore a contented smile as she announced, "We're finally here. My grandmother Oriana lives in that sacred temple in the village." Carl couldn't contain his amazement. "Alara, it's incredible that your grandmother is Oriana. It's like a strange twist of fate." Pat added, "Indeed, our journey has led us right to the doorstep of the person we were searching for, and it's Alara's grandmother." In that moment, Alara's eyes shone with pride and affection for her grandmother. "Oriana has always been the guiding light for our village. There's no doubt in my mind that she holds the key to opening the next chapter of our quest." With hopeful and expectant hearts, the group approached the sacred temple. Their quest to restore the balance of light and darkness in the world of Erethdor was now being led to the doorstep of Oriana by the thread of destiny, guided by Alara. Chapter 7: Pursuit of Shadows. Leo, Pat, Carl and Alara were on the verge of meeting Oriana in the sacred temple, but on the other side of darkness, a different chapter was unfolding. The hooded figures had returned to their hidden lair after the unexpected encounter with the newcomers. They waited in the shadowy corners of their secret hideout, tense and uneasy, knowing they had to report their failure. Their boss remained obscured in darkness, a figure that invoked both fear and submission. One of the hooded figures, their voice quivering with anxiety, spoke up. "We were ambushed, boss. An outsider, young girl, was with them. They rescued her." The boss's voice filled the room like a venomous whisper. "An outsider, you say? Tell me more." The trembling figure continued. "There were 3 men among them from the outside, and the elder one was extraordinary, clearly a martial artist of considerable skill. The others were strong and determined as well. Moreover, they appeared to be on a purposeful journey, moving with intent." The boss's eyes gleamed with dangerous curiosity. "This might be the movement we've feared for a long time. If they too are after what we seek, we cannot let them roam freely." As the hooded figures elaborated on the situation and the outsiders' movements, the boss made a swift decision. "Summon the brethren. We cannot afford to let these outsiders pass us by. We cannot allow them an opportunity to intercept what we seek." Outside the hideout, the night sky was on the verge of giving way to the dawn. and it seemed as if a celestial spectacle of meteor showers had been foreseen, akin to a mysterious omen for an impending pursuit. The hooded figures were emerging one by one, while the brethren summoned by the boss were already on the move, determined to track down Leo, Pat, Carl and Alara and capture them. Unbeknownst to them, their paths were destined to intersect once more, and as Eretha's fate became increasingly uncertain with the onset of the pursuit of shadows, they hurtled towards an increasingly ambiguous future. Chapter 8: The Cliffside Confrontation. The village where Oriana's abode awaited was now within close reach. Leo, Pat, and Alara advanced with a heavy sense of duty pressing upon them like a weighty cloak. Unbeknownst to them, ominous pursuers were hot on their heels, hidden in the serene moonlit desert. As they approached the outskirts of the village, the cold laughter of their pursuers finally echoed through the night. Hooded figures materialized from the darkness all around, and their malevolent intent was palpable in their sinister laughter. This was the moment they had been lying in wait for. With their destination almost within reach and the odds against them, Leo, Pat and Alara stood steadfast, their wills in combat, fighting for the village's destiny and ultimately for Eretha, the name of this otherworldly realm. The boss among the hooded figures taunted them with a cynical glint in their eyes. "Did you think you could escape us, foolish travelers?" Though the situation appeared dire, a surge of power suddenly rippled through the desert sands. It was Carl drawing the sword strapped to his back. The worn hilt and numerous small nicks on the blade bore testament to countless battles fought. The blade, bathed in moonlight, shone brilliantly, sending shivers down the spines of the pursuers, making them gulp and tense up. Carl, gripping his sword, took cautious yet confident steps forward. The hooded figures seemed taken aback and slightly retreated, their previous arrogance giving way to apprehension. "Who are you?" the boss demanded. Leo and Pat exchanged bewildered glances, as if seeing a different side of Carl. They had known him as the leader of the village, but had never realized the true extent of his abilities. With a calm and measured voice, Carl responded, "I am Carl, and I am no ordinary guide. I am one of Master Kai's disciples." His revelation sent shockwaves through the ranks of the pursuers. Being a disciple of Master Kai meant having formidable skills and mastery over the sword, and no one doubted that for a moment. Yet despite Carl's skills, the enemies still held overwhelming numbers and weapons. Moreover, Carl was determined to ensure the safety of Leo, Pat and Alara. The battle erupted, with Carl's swordsmanship becoming a tremendous force to be reckoned with. He dodged enemy attacks with agility, striking down several of them swiftly. Had he fought alone, he might have easily broken through the encircling attackers and retreated safely. However, he was now determined to protect his comrades and had to face numerous enemies on his own. Although skilled with the blade, his limits began to show. With each passing moment, his strength waned, but he continued to fight, drawing enemy attention and leading them away from his friends. Eventually, Carl managed to create a clear path for Leo, Pat and Alara to escape. "Leo, take the others and go. Remember, your fate is tied to Eretha. This is the opening I've created for you. Now go," he shouted, his voice filled with unwavering resolve. Leo, understanding Carl's intentions, shared a moment of gratitude and unease with Pat and Alara, but remained resolute, knowing the importance of their mission and destiny. The group managed to escape unscathed, but the cost was great, and the pursuit of shadows continued. As they retreated, Carl, under the moonlit canyon, began to catch his breath. The pursuers, realizing Carl had exhausted his strength, gradually encircled him. With a heavy heart, Leo, Pat and Alara watched their valiant companion face his destiny. They had gained a momentary respite, but the price was steep, and the pursuit of shadows remained relentless. Chapter 9: Invasion of Darkness. As Leo, Pat and Alara hurried on their journey to find the sacred Shuriken sword, a grim scene unfolded back at the mirage haven they had left behind. Jackal, a manifestation of darkness leading his horde of minions, seemed relentless in his quest to devastate the village. Upon his return, he wasted no time and began capturing the villagers mercilessly, leaving the village in shambles. The peace that had once defined the village was now shattered by the presence of malevolence. Fires blazed in various locations, illuminating the night sky, while Jackal's orders were clear: destroy the village, capture the remaining residents, and seize any knowledge or artifacts related to the sacred Shuriken sword. Buildings lay in ruins, and the once thriving community had crumbled into despair. The scent of destruction and the thick, smoky air filled the surroundings. The residents' agonizing cries echoed through the night. Jackal himself reveled in his newly regained power, his cruel smile almost indestructible. He exuded no mercy, and his ruthlessness was enough to make even his minions wary and fearful. Innocent villagers, men, women, and children, all became merciless targets for conscription. Those deemed useful were cruelly captured, their captors hoping to extract any information or details about the Shuriken sword. Those who resisted were brutally put to death, gradually deterring any further resistance. The weight of the assault caused the village to crumble, and Jackal's cruelty knew no bounds. He reveled in the chaos he had sown, and savored the unending fear and despair that emanated from every corner of the village. Soon after, Jackal's subordinates, who had gone on an expedition to the outskirts of the village, returned with prisoners. Among them were some who had tracked Leo and Pat and had fought against Carl's group. Just like Jackal's minions, they too bore the marks of their battles, having been dragged here. Having extracted information from those who had embarked on their quest for the sacred Shuriken sword, Jackal menacingly threatened them for details about Leo's group. Jackal displayed no urgency. Without delay, he began assembling a pursuit team composed of his most ruthless subordinates to locate Leo, Pat, and Alara and retrieve the sacred Shuriken sword. While the village crumbled, construction of the temple for the Dark Lord was underway elsewhere. Countless villagers worked day and night to fulfill their task. With Jackal's pursuit team ready, their determination to confront Leo's group grew stronger, and they set off, leaving the village. As the night's darkness settled in, they embarked into the desert. Leo, Pat, and Alara's journey became more perilous than ever before. Eretha's fate itself became intertwined in a complex path of crossroads. The pursuit from the forces of darkness emerged as an unprecedented, intensified threat. And without even Carl as their guardian, the quest for the sacred Shuriken sword became a more arduous and challenging endeavor, one that extended into a battle with the darkness. Chapter 10: Sir Orion's Legacy. Leo and Pat had completed their long desert journey, finally arriving at the village entrance guided by Alara. Unlike Mirage Haven, the atmosphere in this village still appeared peaceful and safe, although they couldn't afford to hesitate for a moment, sensing the encroaching darkness. As they made their way towards the temple from the village entrance, a host of twinkling stars filled the sky with their soft light. Their footsteps were silent but resolute, and the path from the village entrance to the temple felt like a serene festival route. Everything was now within their grasp. There was no time to wait. They were the last hope to protect their village and world from the encroaching darkness. As the Dark Lord and his minions gained strength and Jackal's elite pursuit team drew nearer, Leo and his companions needed to be prepared to safeguard and unravel the secrets within the sacred Shuriken. In the heart of the sacred temple, Leo and Pat finally met Oriana, the guardian of the ancient secrets and a wise elder. Oriana's eyes were said to bear the depth of the entire world, but Leo and Pat felt a sense of affection and gentleness in her gaze. "You are the heroes I have been waiting for. And I am Oriana, the distant descendant of the legendary hero Sir Orion of ancient Erethaur," she said. Her voice carried a quiet power as she continued, "Now the moment has come for that long-held secret to be revealed. However, it won't be an easy battle. You may be in danger." As if she could read their unspoken questions, Oriana continued, "But I have a gift for you. Inside this sealed chamber we have protected the ancient relics, the secret sword and bow passed down through generations. Now we will grant them to you. These artifacts hold mysterious powers, as they have for generations, but in reality no one knows what those powers truly are. The only one who can unlock this secret is Master Kai. Find Master Kai with the sword and bow. That is all I can tell you and provide." Leo and Pat exchanged surprised glances. They had countless questions, but their chaotic minds didn't allow them to know what to ask. Oriana seemed to understand their turmoil and continued, "The sacred sword and bow are both said to possess legendary powers beyond imagination, but they remain incomplete without the final key, the sacred Shuriken. These mystical weapons, the secret sword and bow, are imbued with not only their inherent powers but also the unique ability to channel and enhance the latent mystic energy that dwells within each of you. Once you learn to harness this power, you will be able to find the sacred Shuriken and unlock the full potential of the sacred arsenal." She went on, "And the one who will help awaken this untapped potential within you is none other than Master Kai." Alara added, So you must be the chosen heroes to find the sacred Shuriken and maintain the balance in Arathor. Oriana nodded in agreement. Yes, Alara, time is of the essence now. The dark forces will not rest until they secure the Shuriken. With a heavy heart, Oriana spoke again. You must find Master Kai without delay. If my prediction is correct, the dark forces are surely still tracking you. Alara's eyes gleamed with determination as she said, we will need a lot of help to find Master Kai, so I will accompany you on this journey. Oriana smiled at her granddaughter with pride, showing a slight smile. I have faith in your abilities. Make sure to set out after dinner and with the first light of day, for the dark forces are not far away. The group prepared to depart after dinner, and Oriana and Alara made sure they had all the necessary supplies from various places in the village. Night fell, and the group thought their excitement would keep them awake, but the exhaustion of the arduous journey caused them to fall into a deep sleep. The next morning, Oriana's voice finally woke them from their slumber. After a light breakfast, the time came for Oriana and the travelers to bid farewell. As the moment of parting approached, Oriana couldn't hide the sorrow in her voice. Now go, may Sir Orion's legacy guide your way. Leo, Pat and Alara set off with a new purpose, leaving behind the sacred temple. Their journey had taken on a greater meaning now, as the fate of Arathor rested on their shoulders, and the ominous shadow of the Dark Lord drew ever closer. Chapter 11: The Advance of Darkness. The desert night was silent. Only the occasional sound of the frigid wind, devoid of any warning, rustled through the air. Jackal, the absolute force leading the Dark Lord's army, stood at the village entrance, gathering his subordinates and issuing commands. Jackal's voice, marked with brutal self-assurance, was clear, and had a restrained power mingled with charisma that compelled listeners to follow him unquestioningly. Crush those who resist, he ordered to the legions of dark demons. Those who dare to challenge us, eliminate them without mercy. Ensure that the remaining ones do not hesitate even for a moment in enslaving the captives for the construction of the Dark Lord's temple. His subordinates were unquestionably obedient and merciless, and there seemed to be no doubt that they would execute his commands without hesitation. This village, once peaceful, was now plunged into destruction and chaos after Jackal's occupation, and the cries of innocent people echoed through the nights. Houses and buildings lay in ruins, and the village's residents were forced into slavery as tools for temple construction. With a sinister gleam of anticipation, Jackal, who seemed to take pleasure in the destruction, shouted to his subordinates, "We must swiftly complete the glorious temple of the Dark Lord. His return is drawing nearer, and we must be prepared to welcome him with no negligence." Then, as if guided by an unseen force, Jackal turned his gaze towards the desert. A strange sensation swept over him, and in a low, eerie voice he said, "Anyone who dares to obstruct us will be annihilated without a trace." It appeared as if Jackal could sense the presence and movements of Leo's group, as if he had the ability to resonate with their existence. His evil intentions were evident in his grim smile as the darkness within him intensified. "Those who dare to resist us will be eliminated sooner than they could imagine," he proclaimed. As if driven by the power of darkness, an ominous smile crept over Jackal's lips, and he continued, "I have a premonition that I'll get my hands on those insignificant objects far sooner than expected. Call the guards, I must go and eliminate them myself." Jackal seemed to be expanding with the power of darkness, as if he felt that pressure inside him. Simultaneously, the pursuit team he had dispatched raced towards Leo's group with terrifying speed. Chapter 12: Clash. Leo and Pat felt a deep sense of familiarity as they each gripped the secret sword and the bow in their hands. Leo swung the sword, feeling as if he possessed the skills of a master swordsman. Furthermore, the weight of the sword and the power it exuded from the hilt seemed to instill Leo with a newfound confidence, as if it granted him a mysterious strength. Pat, on the other hand, tested the bow, realizing he had acquired the ability to shoot arrows swiftly and accurately, even in practice. Both of them shared satisfied smiles, appreciating the mysterious power and abilities of their respective weapons. In that moment, Alara urgently exclaimed, "Hey, look over there in the plain, there's a group of pursuers coming our way." Leo and Pat turned their attention to the direction Alara pointed. In the distance, they could see a cloud of dust rising as a group approached rapidly. It was Jackal's pursuit party. Alerted by Alara's warning, Leo and Pat nervously prepared their weapons and surveyed the nearby hills once again. They needed to find a favorable position to engage the enemy. Making the most of their time, armed with their mysterious weapons, they calmly found their positions and readied themselves for their first battle. As the pursuit party came into shooting range, Pat swiftly released an arrow, precisely hitting one of the front runners. The sound of a horn in the distance signaled the beginning of the attack. Following this, a shield unit advanced, bearing the brunt of most of the arrow attacks. Behind them, a strike force prepared for a follow-up assault. As the pursuit party reached the hill, a full-fledged battle ensued. Leo brandished the mysterious sword Oriana had given him, and faced their adversaries with skills that surpassed his expectations. Pat continued to pull his bowstring, providing accurate support for his comrades. Though they enjoyed transcendent abilities through their mysterious weapons, their lack of real combat experience and the challenge of maximizing the weapon's potential proved to be difficult. On the other hand, Jackal's pursuit party was composed of elite forces. Initially, the battle was intense, thanks to the extraordinary weapons and the geographical advantage held by Leo's group. As time passed, the momentum of the battle began to shift in favor of their adversaries. Alara eventually decided to use the small bombs and smoke grenades she had brought from the village as a last resort. They threw explosives and smoke grenades from their high vantage point, barely managing to deter the remaining enemies. When the battle had quieted down, the trio was left battered and bruised. They lay on the ground, losing consciousness. Hours later, it was around sunset when the ground's unsettling vibrations roused them. Another pursuit party was spotted, but this time it was a new, more formidable adversary. It's Jackal. Leo and Pat instinctively recognized the presence of Jackal. The sight of his surrounding guard was all too familiar. At that moment, Jackal raised his head, seemingly gazing in their direction, despite the considerable distance between them. The group fell silent for a moment, feeling as though they had lost all hope. Their mysterious weapons and explosives had proven ineffective. Jackal's gleaming banner was a stark reminder of their formidable enemy. They had to snap back to reality. They regrouped and began preparing for the battle. A short while later, Jackal arrived. He ordered his subordinates to stay back. Approaching the group alone, Pat drew his bowstring, launching a powerful arrow at Jackal. Leo wielded his mysterious sword with all his might against the nearly defenseless Jackal. In a gap, Alara threw a bomb in an attempt to destabilize Jackal. After the smoke from the explosion cleared, it was a cruel reality that Jackal appeared unharmed and composed. Without hesitation, Jackal, as if determined to eliminate Leo's group, raised the sword in his hand and swung it toward them. Leo's party, in the face of Jackal's overwhelming presence, dared not challenge him. As they thought it was all over, a resounding clang, an immense weapon striking against another, caused the entire area to resonate with a thunderous noise. Someone had intercepted Jackal's colossal attack. In a fit of anger, Jackal spoke. "Valkyrie, are you insane? Why are you obstructing me?" Valkyrie, the enigmatic warrior who could stand up to Jackal, was one of the few beings capable of doing so. She, too, served the Dark Lord. Her flag was similarly gleaming, but her atmosphere was subtly different. Shortly after, in the shifting sands of the desert, a fierce battle erupted between Jackal and Valkyrie, two powerful warriors. Leo and Pat managed to fend off Jackal's subordinates, securing a momentary safe haven with Alara. As they hid behind the rocks, they watched the battle unfold, unable to do anything else. From a distance, the fiery rage of Jackal from head to toe was matched by Valkyrie's determination, no less potent. "My mission concerning Oriana has been entrusted to me. You can build your temple, you have no right to interfere here." Their conflict continued, a battle of determination and loyalty, amidst the silent flashes of light and the storm raging through the desert. Leo, Pat and Alara watched, while nothing else seemed possible in this unprecedented situation. As the sand settled and the storm subsided, the desert bore traces of the merciless clash between Valkyrie and Jackal, while Leo, Pat and Alara, battered and bloodied, had to catch their breath.